Allegations against Israel are that it is committing crimes in the territory of a state party, which is Palestine. So under the Rome Statute, even though a country is not a party to the statute, but if it commits crimes in the territory of a state party, then that makes you liable, and then you can be held accountable for those crimes. The idea was to make sure that nobody goes unpunished for these crimes. That even if you are not a state party, you cannot go and commit crimes in the territory of another country, which is a state party. Once you do that, then you become liable.
It looks like the entire process now takes a different turn, an interesting one, whereby Israel was alleging possibly that if it comes to a point whereby there are warrants of arrest against any of its leaders, it might actually influence or urge America to now lay sanctions on the prosecutors themselves, a process that you were sort of involved in it. How does it work?
In my mind, I doubt that the situation that pertains to us as the sanctions were issued against the prosecutor and myself, I really have my doubts that this might be the case in the present situation. The fact is that the prosecutor of the ICC now is a British, and the British are allies of the Americans, and so they're also allies of the Israelis. So the likelihood, in my mind, that there would be sanctions against the ICC or even the prosecutor or any member of the office of the prosecutor, it's unlikely in as far as I can see. At least that is my assessment. And the sanctions were issued against the prosecutor and I on very flimsy reasons really that were never explained, and what took place that led to that, which was an internal matter within the US. We are not privy to that. But the considerations, I think, that were taken into account at that moment for us, small countries, the Gambia and Lesotho, we were just pawns that were just being played there. They knew that nobody could do anything against. We were just small states. And what was surprising with us was that it was just not I and the prosecutor who were in the executive committee. There were many others. The deputy prosecutor was Canadian, there were some Belgians, there were some Argentinians, and we took decisions collectively. Now, why we were singled out, me and the prosecutor, is something that still baffles us, and that's baffled everybody, why the two of us were just singled out in that regard. So the likelihood of that happening now with the prosecutor and in his office, I'm aware that there are a lot of Americans. I think his special assistant is an American. So I doubt that the Americans will will sanction one of their own in that regard. So the situation that pertains to us, I don't think that it pertains in the situation now.
A caution to the world and say potholes along the way if we do not do the right things. Have you formulated some sort of an opinion over this conflict?
Wars are natural. Sometimes they do happen. The wars happen. And if two countries want to fight, that's up to them. They can do the fighting. But what the ICC is saying that in the context of that war that you're carrying, there are laws of war that govern. You must respect those laws of war. There are laws of war that must be respected when there's a war between states now. But more in particular, those laws of war are saying, don't harm civilians. Don't do anything to civilians. If you are two soldiers, you are both carrying guns, you can shoot each other. You can shoot at each other, that's fine. That's war. But once I lay down my arms and say I surrender, then I'm protected by the laws of wars. But more particularly, again, if I'm a civilian, I'm not carrying arms, they cannot come and attack me. So some of the things that are happening in the context of these wars fall outside the four corners that govern the laws of war. That is why people now should be careful when leaders or when generals order bombs to be thrown when they order things to be done, when they order killings to be done, they should be careful that now they cannot just willy-nilly order anybody to anybody, or can just not willy-nilly cause those wars to harm innocent civilians. That's the crux of that's the crux of the matter that now the ICC is sending to the world and everybody in the context of these wars.